Welcome. On the second Sunday of Easter, from the Gospel of John, Jesus somehow appears to locked down and shut in disciples, and he shows them his hands and his sides. And I'd like to reflect on that today. And the fascinating thing that I love is that the risen Jesus is not all bright, shiny, super powerful, super amazing, super healed. He still carries his wounds, and they're quite visible. The disciples can see them, the wounds in his hand, and from the Gospel of John, where he's been stabbed with the spear after he's died, the wound in his side. Easter doesn't mean a complete new makeover. The risen Jesus still carries his wounds, and that's really significant for us, and I'd like to explore that. From our Good Friday reading from Isaiah 53, he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. We all like sheep have gone astray, each of us has turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. By his wounds we are healed. Now scars tell stories, and here's a couple of my little scars on my hands. Okay, that was from a bush saw starting to cut a log. I was year 11 on a bush camp, weekend school camp. And of course I had my hand too close to where I was starting the bow saw, and it jumped and cut me. I have never cut my hand with a saw since, always very careful when I make those initial cuts until the teeth are firmly embedded, keep my hand right away. That little boomerang shaped scar on the end of that same finger, that was from cutting the kids a tyre swing when they were little. So I went to the tyre shop, got an old tyre, obviously not a steel belt radial, because you can't cut through that to make a tyre swing, cut out the sides and attached the rope and put it up in the tree. And of course, in one little bit, the knife slipped and it just did that little cut. Wasn't too bad. A little proud memory of doing something nice for my kids. And we've still got that swing at home. That tip of that finger, it's on the right hand side, fourth finger. That's a crush injury from hockey way back in my Esperance days, and that was a visit to the local little hospital on Saturday afternoon, and the doctor came in and put about 3 stitches in that. So still got it. So scars tell stories, and you've got your own scars and the stories that they tell. But all of us have inside scars as well. I'm not just talking about physical scars, or I know some people do have inside physical scarring from surgeries and things. But inside scars, I'm thinking about emotional hurts, things that went wrong, or things that didn't work the way we want. And we all have those inside scars. And those scars tell stories too, and those are very important stories. Let's tie it in with Jesus and his wounds. Easter life does not mean no tears. The book of Revelation, chapter 20, talks about heaven being a place of no tears, a new heaven and new earth. That's for future. We share in Easter life now, but it doesn't mean no tears. It certainly does not mean that we're not carrying wounds or scars. Jesus still carried wounds from his crucifixion, even though he was risen. So Easter life doesn't mean no pain, no struggle. It does mean hope. Hope in every situation. And it does mean that we are given new strength when we need it, and maybe when we least expect it. Or we discover, as we're thrown into a situation, there's something new happening inside us, and a determination, I'm not going to put up with the rubbish here. I'm going to deal with it differently. New strength. That's certainly about Easter. And there's the courage to work on inner healing. Instead of making the same mistakes over and over again, we do the hard work on inner healing. We reveal our vulnerabilities to one or two or a small group of people around us. People we trust, people who listen to us, people who don't put us down. And there are times when we all do work with a professional, whether it's a Christian pastor or someone who's a very skillful listener and counsellor, or someone from outside. And we do that hard work to work on inner healing. And it is hard work, and changes happen. And so the next time something triggers us or flips us back into that space, we know how to get out a lot more quickly because we've done that hard work. So Easter life can still be very fragile. We can feel vulnerable, but it is utterly precious, and our wounds become utterly precious because they are places of grace and mercy. They are places where God's promises are held onto, and they're places where we're learning to trust the process, that God is working with us, molding us, shaping us in ways that we can't understand. And sometimes our prayer is, okay, Lord, here I am. What are you wanting to show me or teach me through this? You might like it, you mightn't enjoy it, but that can be a very powerful prayer. Okay, what are you showing me? How are you working in me? And we let our wounds be touched and carried and handled by the Christ who's also wounded. What if I put my hand, my wound, up against his, and let his love flow into me and through me? And finally, Easter life's very fragile. In Jesus, he's super shiny, but still carrying the wounds and others. And they help us, connect us to Christ and to healing in Christ. So finally, your scars, inside or outside, are there to honour. They're places where big lessons have been learnt. They're places where you've done the hard work. They're places where you've worked through maybe the rubbish, the discard, the bad stuff to find the little flecks of gold that are there even in the worst situation. Easter Jesus still carries his wounds, and that's utterly precious and utterly vital.